orphans. There were the rich orphans and the poor orphans. Rich orphans were way better off as they were adopted by their relatives. So close relatives would adopt them that were obviously richer, and they would be very spoiled and have a luxurious taste. In comparison, the poor orphans had no other family members that could adopt them, so in turn they would end up going to workhouses, which would end up having a very sad life there in very poor conditions. In these workhouses, orphans were severely mistreated. If they did something wrong or something that was said to be wrong, they would be yelled at or hit for their bad behavior. And also in these workhouses, they were not provided with nearly enough food, so they would end up being very malnourished. And not only were they not provided with enough food, the food that they were provided with did not give them enough energy or nutrition to continue on with their day. And because of the very dirty environment, sickness was spread very easily in these institutions. Not only would it spread so quickly due to how dirty it was there, it would also spread so quickly due to how malnourished these kids were. They would have no immune system, so they would end up getting sick very easily. Many of these orphan experiences are presented throughout the novel of Jane Eyre. One example could be Miss Temple. What is that girl with the curled hair? That girl's hair must be cut off entirely. This quote comes from when Mr. Brocklehurst visits Lowood Institution. When he visits Lowood Institution, he sees that one of the girls has curled hair. Although her hair is naturally curly, he demands that it be cut off. This can show how strict these institutions really were. Another example is semi-starvation and neglected colds had predisposed most of the pupils to receive infection. 45 out of the 80 girls lay ill. At Lowood Institution, there were very poor conditions, so illness spread very easily, which is shown when 45 out of the 80 girls lay ill.
Helen Burns, a resident of Lowood Institute, is here to give more insight on life and experiences as an orphan during the Victorian era. So Helen, what have your experiences been as an orphan?
Well, for me, being an orphan has come with ups and downs. Here at Lowood, the teachers are very strict and make sure that every girl is up to the standards met by Mr. Brocklehurst, the headmaster.
Oh, is that so? What do you mean by strict? What standards?
There are various punishments that are given depending on the teacher's reason that the girl is being punished. For example, whenever I speak out about an opinion I may have, I am beaten or slashed many times. As for standards, Mr. Brocklehurst believes that every girl should be modest and pious in every way, just as God would want.
What are the ways that you girls should be pious or modest?
All of the girls have to dress plainly with no patterns. Also, Mr. Brocklehurst does not like curled hair or even any hair shown. We also must be thankful for what we have, even if it isn't much. Such as, us girls always eat all of our meals, even if they may be considered gross or if we believe that there isn't enough.
In the Victorian era, the conditions in the orphanages most of the time concluded of things like small cold homes that was often infested with lice and vermin, and most of the neighbors had to share dirty utilities, and water was collected from dirty pumps in the streets, and death was found to come very early, and most children lost many relatives. To continue with the conditions, most worked 12 hours every day in workhouses, and there was no medicines, and medical instruments were not disinfected, leading to causing more diseases and illnesses. And there was most of the time there was little understanding to the causes of the spreads, so they weren't sure how it was going from one person to another. And there was also no heat or appropriate attire for such temperatures. These conditions were demonstrated various times throughout Jane Eyre. One example is, "You dirty, disagreeable girl, you have never cleaned your nails this morning. Why did she not explain that she could neither clean her nails nor wash her face as the water was frozen?" This quote shows that while Helen had no choice but to remain dirty because the water was frozen, that Miss Temple was still scolding her, and it shows poor conditions at Lowood. Another example is, "The scanty supply of food was distressing. With the keen appetites of growing children, we had scarcely sufficient to keep alive a delicate invalid." This shows that while Lowood had a lack of food, the children were not able to remain healthy and keep up a good immune system and stay healthy for life. Another example is, "Our clothing was insufficient to protect us from the severe cold. We had no boots, the snow got in our shoes." This is showing that the freezing temperatures were literally killing the children and had and they were freezing to death and were not prepared for the severe temperatures.
Jane Eyre, another orphan, is here to reveal more about Lowood Institute. Jane, what were the conditions like in the orphanage?
At Lowood, the food quality was low, and we had small portions. The room in the winter time was freezing cold, and we did not have any warm clothes or blankets to help that. Also, we rarely could bathe because there was only one bath, and due to the lack of heat, in the winter, the water was frozen.
How did these conditions affect you personally?
Well, the conditions in Lowood were so bad that during the winter, many of the girls got sick, including my closest friend, Helen. It was very hard for me to lose her, and forever afterwards, it was never the same.
Oh.
In Victorian England, the child welfare was pretty poor. There were no laws protecting the children in the home, and in many cases, the children were seen as property by their parents. Many were abused or abandoned, and some were even bought or sold. Even though the child welfare in Victorian England was poor, they had very strict rules when it came to corporal punishments of children. According to the Poor Law Commissioners, they required that no children under the age of 12 should be confined in a dark room. They also said that no corporal punishment should be inflicted on any female, and also that no corporal punishment should be inflicted on males except for schoolmasters or people at school, so their parents could not. In Jane Eyre, this idea is shown as Mrs. Reed is locking Jane in the red room, and Jane says, "Have pity, forgive me, I cannot endure it. Let me be punished some other way. I shall be killed if." So the way that Jane is being locked in the red room goes against any of those ideas of corporal punishments that were in place at this time, which demonstrates that even though that these laws were in place, parents were still going against them and children were still being confined and experiencing these type of corporal punishments.
You ungrateful orphan girl, go fetch that stool and stand on it for half an hour, and nobody in here is to speak to her.